All right. Good morning. I'm here today, Stacey Mahoy here with Rene Longoria from Gameday Coffee. And I asked Rene to come on because we crossed paths via Facebook. His Gameday Coffee page shared one of my posts. And so I was like, okay, who are these people? What do they do? Took a look at their website, Facebook page, was intrigued because it was talking about the importance of connection between parents and their kids, which I absolutely love. So then I sent them a Facebook message, and things kind of started rolling from there. We had a conversation on the phone, and I just had to ask if, he'd like to come on the podcast and talk story for a bit and share a little bit more about what they do and some other fun stuff too. So Rene, welcome to the show. Is that how you pronounce your name? Is that correct?
Yes, Rene's
all right,
good.
Perfect. All right, so thank you so much for being here. Why don't you just give us a little bit of background? I know you have a background in sales and marketing, that sort of thing, but also saw that you're a karate instructor. Is that still current?
I've kind of put that on the shelf.
Okay.
I turned 59. I'm 59 now, turned 60 in June. And that's one of the things that my daughters do. They do the karate. My wife is a second-degree black belt.
Wow.
And so I leave that now to them. I can still do some things, right?
Uh-huh.
But use me in an emergency. But as far as a workout's concerned, walking has become my new favorite friend.
Yeah. So did you get involved because they were involved, or who started it?
Yes, absolutely. We did. You can spend your lifetime, sipping on a glass of wine, watching American Idol 3 nights a week, or you can get off the couch and actually do something with your family. And I chose to do something with the family.
Very cool.
Kind of got in a rut, and I watched this Muhammad Ali video from the 70s of all things. And he had a very fast way of defining time. Because somebody asked him how old he was. And he said, I'm 16 years old. I was like, well, how did you get that? You're making a joke. And he said, no, if you take away all the hours that I sleep, it's 8 hours a day. If you take all the time that I spend traveling to and from my workouts, there's X number of time there. If you take away the time that I spend going to a movie or getting ready for the day, you find that you end up with very little time to actually do anything, like to make an impact. Mm-hmm. He said, so take a look around the room. It's a large auditorium. There's thousands of people here. He goes, do you realize that we're just infants? We're just tiny little babies. Some of us are teenagers, but we don't live as long as we really think we do. And we don't have as much time as we really think we have. And I was blown away. I've watched Muhammad Ali because I grew up in that era, being able to see him live on ABC doing his boxing things. I had never heard him say that ever. So it's pretty cool.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So were you a fan growing up of Muhammad Ali when he was boxing?
Oh, absolutely. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I'm faster than all of you. My name's Muhammad Ali. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So he wasn't fighting when I was introduced to boxing and watched it live on pay-per-view and all that. But my daughters ended up boxing for a little bit. So,
nice.
Watched the movie and all this stuff. And so he's incredible, like not just as an athlete, but he just has this sense of, how to get himself out there and just do his whole deal. And so it's very interesting as a human being in general. Plus, obviously good at what he did in ring. So very, very cool.
Absolutely.
All right. So as you know, today's, while we're talking here, people might not be listening on this day, and I'm probably actually not going to publish this until a little later, but today is April 24th while I'm talking to you. And it's the day that some of the new NCAA rule changes went into effect. So we briefly spoke about that. The general gist of it, I'll read it off to you here, is that legislation was passed establishing September 1st of a prospective student athlete's junior year as a start date for, especially for softball, for all softball recruiting contact. So effective immediately means that all communication between Division I softball coaches and the student athletes and their families are now impermissible prior to September of junior year. And it also talks about messages may not be passed through any third parties, including but not limited to travel ball high school coaches. And in that effort, so they can't be passing messages in an effort to continue recruiting communications between the coaches and the student athletes. Mm-hmm. So any thoughts on that? About do you think it'll be a good thing for the kids? Or do you think do you think we'll see some positive progress or positive change in the environment?
I don't know. I kind of take a step back. My world is probably a little bit more conservative or libertarian in my own upbringing. So the idea of laws or rules, they're kind of in place to protect the crazy, not to protect people who are wholesome and just living life and doing things for the benefit of their kids. But specifically to the rules, right? A body, a not-for-profit, right, that does all these policies for college sports. They decided that it was important, right, to limit the amount of contact. So clearly something was happening where the people who are influencing those decisions were clearly doing way too many things and getting too close with the parents or the kids. And so to have the arm's length is probably something that they sensed that they wanted the protection. Yeah. Sometimes large organizations like the NCAA, like the NFL, they don't always do things in the best interest of the people necessarily. They're really trying to protect the size of the organization, yes, and finding it probably more in their best interest to go, let's just take a little step back here, okay? It'll come across as we're trying to protect the kids, and rightfully so, or the parents, but they're probably going, man, it's just there's too many squirrely stories that we just don't really want to get. We don't want this to multiply. Yeah. So let's make it a rule that says let's back it up.
Yeah, I think it was some of the coaches, and if I'm not mistaken, the NCFA, the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association, that kind of proposed it, and so they had a vote on it. So I don't think they would have done it had no one, pushed for it in a sense. Right. Kind of following along with like the things that went down in lacrosse, but that's kind of a different, from what I understand, the lacrosse recruiting process and their world just operates a little bit differently than some other sports. But anyway, yeah. So
what happened in the lacrosse thing?
I think they passed similar ruling in the past, but from what I understand, lacrosse isn't like a big professional thing either. It's not a sport that has as much notoriety, I guess. Right. So their push really came from a lot of the coaches. From what I've been told, the reason why people feel like theirs work out better than softballs is because their whole community pretty much were the ones that were like, we need to put this in place. Whereas I think in softball, it's more like a few, just a portion of them that really want to put that into place. So they feel like lacrosse is going to be successful because like their community is the one that their whole community kind of really was on the same page and wanted to do it anyway. And versus softball, where it's like there's a portion of the community that really kind of feels that recruiting sixth graders is not in the best interest of the kids. Right. So, and I think there's a lot of coaches and parents, the feedback that I'm seeing on Facebook and whatnot and on social media and communication and conversations is that, some people say that they don't want all this pressure on the student athletes and early recruiting, but they're like one of the first people to offer, the new up and coming kids. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Give me the top three schools for softball. What would that like?
Gosh, I don't know now, but the ones that immediately come to mind in this conversation anyway were UCLA, Florida, you know, right now Oklahoma's having a good season. I don't know. Actually, I don't follow that closely, to be honest. I used
Got
to
it.
watch all the time
Well,
when
the
my kids
reason
were
I
playing.
asked it in just a general question
Right.
is this, right? So if mom's wearing a UCLA sweatshirt and dad's wearing an Oklahoma sweatshirt, right? They may do that just because they know that those are the two like awesome schools eventually that have softball like at really high level, and they just may like to do that. So although the idea is, hey, don't talk to the kids or don't try and influence the parents.
Mm-hmm.
The parents are also seeking out like what's the best thing for my kid in the long run.
Yeah.
And so the fun of being engaged with, I've got my UCLA sweatshirt, right? Or hat, or let's go visit the school, right? Even though you're making rules that it's like the schools shouldn't be doing it, the parents are just loving every minute of I'm spending time with my daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go visit this really awesome campus or go see a really high level game. Someday you may be playing here or not, right? Or not. And I think that's the kind of the other side of all the rules and regulations sometime when we try and get really, we're protecting the kids. It's like, well, you also kind of taking away the fun of the parents and the family of going, my kid's actually really good at softball and they may happen to be only 8 years old. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it all works out in the end.
Yeah, it's kind of what I shared on another episode was just that, you know, as long as there's coaches who want to get ahead and as long as there's parents who are like wanting to kind of guarantee their child's future in some way, we'll probably see some, you know, still a lot of something going on. And a lot of times, you know, like you said, the people who are really wanting to do what's best for the kids and make sure they don't have all this craziness in their experience and want to focus on their development as a human being and they're concerned about their health and well-being, they're not the ones that need the rules, and the people who do need the rules probably aren't going to follow them anyways.
Right.
Or find some loophole or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, you know, we'll see how it goes. And anytime, like you said, anytime we need the rules to kind of tell us to do the things that we should be doing anyway, I don't know. We'll see what happens. And generally, the first go around of trying to enforce certain things probably isn't going to be perfect. So we'll see how it evolves over time.
Yeah, actually, this very subject is the way that you handle it and how we've discussed it is the reason why Kirsten, who's the media director for Gameday Coffee, why she spotted your Facebook post, right, or YouTube, whatever that was. And it resonated with her because it was about the relationship between a parent and a child. And to go, hey man, don't go off the rails here. Okay. They're little people who are growing up. Right. And you want to raise adults. You don't want to raise children in the end. In the end, you want them to be thinking like adults, but there's this joy and happiness section in the middle of experimenting and having fun and going on the adventure and losing games. And it's like, man, don't get caught up in the W's and the L's, right? Or how much playing time. You're going, keep the relationship. That's what lasts forever. And so when Kirsten spotted that and put it on, when I saw your video, because I don't see everything in advance. I only see it once it's on Facebook or once it's on Instagram, because Kirsten has full range to do whatever she wants. And man, I saw that and I called her and I said, where did you find this person? Okay, she is awesome. Like, where? And so she was all excited. And then you had reached out after we shared it, and I'm going, wait a minute, what are you doing contacting me? I'm in Israel and I'm supposed to contact you when I get back. Like that's the plan of my mind. But so when you had said, hey, thanks for sharing it, I knew there was going to be more. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate, first of all, that, that was a video that kind of was the first time this year I just spoke what was on my mind. And it was kind of scary because I'm like, it was something that I just saw happen and it was fresh. And you always don't want to offend anybody because it's like, look, I know you guys as parents care about your kids, right? So like, I know you're not doing these things to, mess things up, obviously, because I certainly wasn't.
Right.
So I didn't want to, I still worry about that. Like, I don't want to offend people and tell them like you're being a bad parent. Like that's not the intention at all. Right. But, so to see it shared by another page, I was like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. And then, yeah, I went to see what you are about and then the talking about, intentionally fostering that relationship or spending quality time, right? Making time for quality time with your child and building that connection. I think I've discovered over the past few years how important that connection is. And we talk about it in coaching all the time. The connection is key. If you're not connecting with your players, they're not listening, they're not going to learn anything, no matter how much you know. And I never, for whatever reason, thought about it that way as a parent. And I guess it's because we assume like, well, of course we love our kids. Of course we care about them. Look at all this stuff we do, right? Like we go, right? We're doing all this stuff and obviously we care about them and we love them. But it's just interesting how that's not always what comes through on the other side. Like you were saying, especially in sports, we get so, the wins and the losses and who you're playing for and who's paying attention and all these lessons that we hope that our kids learn. And then we worry that they're not because of how they respond. And it's like, we just we just care so much that we go a little crazy sometimes. So tell me a little bit more about this idea behind Gameday Coffee and how it came about, what you know about it, how you got involved with it.
First of all, Gameday Coffee wasn't my idea. Gameday Coffee was originated by a friend of mine who I had known for 24 years. And Todd Mello just decided, hey, his son was a senior in high school and going to be the starting quarterback again for year 2. And he's just knew how much limited time there was. I think there's 9 high school football games that are guaranteed, and the rest is all playoffs. So he asked his son to join him for coffee in the morning. They didn't call it Gameday Coffee. They just met, and they went to a Starbucks and spent time. And they just got up an hour earlier than they normally would have, and they talked about everything that wasn't football. Because the kid was clearly, you get kind of footballed out with X's and O's when you're training and in season. He said, I just want you to know that there's a lot of eyes on you, including my own and including God. And I just want to have the time to go. Do you know where you want to go right this year? Do you know what you want to communicate? There are people who want you to succeed, and there's a small, tiny number who would love to see you fail. And don't know who those people are, but it doesn't really matter. Just know that, every day is important. And this is a big year for you and what college you go to next. Is it contingent on how you play? The answer is yes. Is it everything? No, it's just part of it, right? So don't get too wrapped up in, hey, we won, or hey, we lost. Let's just take it step by step. So those parlayed into several events that we had gathered larger groups of football players together. We met at a church. We fed them breakfast. We asked them to bring their dads or their moms. We said, wear whatever jersey you have from whatever 5 teams that you are coming, like the 5 different teams in the area. And the coaches supported it in a big way. If they didn't, it wouldn't have happened. The coaches said, let's do this. So we did a couple of them in the morning, and then we did a few of them in the evening. And we had people from the Indianapolis Colts players stop by. The local NBC affiliate anchor stopped by and spoke. Some other broadcasters spoke. We had a preacher speak at each one to just say a blessing over the kids, regardless of their faith walk. It was like, take it however way you get it, right? It's somebody speaking a good life path over your future. And so all of those things were going on, and it went really well. And Todd says to me, he says, this Gameday Coffee thing, because it finally got a name, he goes, I really wish we had an RV. I really wish that we had like a radio station inside the RV, and we can just go talk to people about spending quality time with their kids, and just serve coffee to people. And it's like that kind of like funds this whole game day activity. So then we can make the events larger, and we can have concerts, and we can have public, like the whole Colts team comes in, or we go from NFL city to NFL city. And I had worked with Todd. He was the first guy that I hired at the Indianapolis Colts, where I happened to have worked for 6 glorious seasons. And I know that big things are possible, right? Mm-hmm. Anything is possible. And all I kept thinking was, man, I don't know if I want to go on the road trip. I don't know if I want to go to New York, Chicago, LA, Boston, whatever the things are, right? Hawaii, maybe. But
there's no team.
we'll pretend like there's a team. No. It's the All-Star game. Right?
It usually is, but it wasn't held here recently. They held it somewhere else.
Well, we'll have to bring it back. We'll
definitely
just need a place to go with a bunch of people. Bring your kids. Spend intentional time in Hawaii. Who's not going to want to do that?
I've seriously thought about doing like a mother-daughter day retreat. Like, come to Hawaii, get away from sports. Let's go on a hike. Let's get into the natural beauty. Kick back, chill, have some conversations.
It works for me. The only thing that I need to justify it is it says Gameday Coffee presents whatever it is that you want to create, and then you just say Hawaii at the end. And I go, I'll talk to my wife and say, Amy, Hawaii. You think this Gameday Coffee thing's going okay now? Yeah, I think it works. A little bit of sand inside of your Java drink, and I think it's okay. Just a little splash. It's accidental.
Right.
But anyway, Gameday Coffee's evolved into a mobile cafe that is sponsored in part by Cordell & Cordell, the United States' largest law firm. And they are out of St. Louis. They spotted what we were doing. They said, hey, we'd like to advertise on your truck, and we'd also like to prepay the coffee for events that if you can bring dads and their kids together or parents and their kids together, we want to support that. Our job is to help men through divorce. However, our heart is, can we reconcile the family before we go through that? If they happen to get divorced, the guy has to spend time with the kids. You cannot disappear. Nothing good happens when the guy disappears from his family. So the combination of those things are why Cordell & Cordell got involved. There are other people that we have talked to about joining in because we support a mentoring program with assessments and curriculum. So the same way that math and science and history is taught level by level and grade by grade, Todd has broken down parenting and packaged it into a mentoring curriculum so that we're able to walk kids through a very specific process to make sure that nothing is skipped, right? If you don't have 32 million households, I'll take that back, 32 million kids wake up every day in a household without their biological father. It's a massive number. It's like 30% of all households. That's the part that ripped me up. And that's the why of why I do what I do, and trying to take Gameday Coffee and fund the mentoring programs that we support in order to put good people around some very broken situations. Mm-hmm. That in a nutshell is, it's a lot. It's a lot, but.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, we got to talk a little bit, so you heard a little bit about my story, but, and things that our family has been through and some difficulties along the parenting journey. And through that, I just feel like, gosh, parents just need so much more support. I feel like then seems to be readily out there. Like, we just feel like, well, we're just going to learn on the job, and everybody does this. Like, there's so many parents out there, so obviously we can do this thing. But, and I just, and you've got this dad side, and I just have this huge thing on my heart to just support moms, because I know what it's like, obviously, to be a mom. I don't know what it's like to be a dad, but I just realized like how much we tend to take on and hold on to that we don't ever really get to talk about with other people, or get some support or mentoring, or someone to just say, hey, we've been through something similar, and here's, just anything like that. So it's really awesome that, you have this program where parents and families really can be supported, because I think especially in youth sports, like I think that just adds a whole nother layer of possible stress and tension if we're not mindful about how we go about it. So, I've definitely seen youth sports issues create more tension and stress within a family, rather than being something that really brings them together and is something that they all enjoy and builds a relationship. So that's kind of where I like to just bring more awareness to families. Like, look, if this thing is causing lots of stress between you and your child, between you and your spouse even, then we've got to take a step back and look at like how we're, going through this thing. So,
I think the really fragile part of all of this, it's a balancing act between the fact that we're all, and I mean all, broken. There's something about each one of us that is, it's like not right. And I don't mean it in like I'm looking for the wrong things, right? It's just something really hurts us, or we've been scarred some way along life's path. And usually has to do with relationships that are really closest to us. They would be dad relationships, mom relationships, aunts and uncles, influential, like spiritual people that you walk around who let us down. It's usually somebody's let us down, right? Our picture of them being perfect, they are not perfect. In that, it's like, well, I thought you were the one I was supposed to be listening to. I thought you were the greatest coach ever in the history of the world. And I listened to everything that you said, and I found out this about you, right? Or you said this to me, and it really hurt my feelings. Sometimes those things are 10, 20, 30, 40 years old. And so we as adults are still seeking after that. I want something better than I experienced for my kid. Right. And so we look for really good coaches, or look for really good programs, or look for families that are like really into this thing too. And when you get out there, it's like, man, we're all bringing stuff from our individual homes to these two what do you call it? Sidelines in baseball. What do they call them?
Sidelines.
Yeah. So we're bringing it to the field, right? We're bringing this to the bleachers. And so how you act at home is now next to you in a bleacher, right? Or how they act at home. So like one cat's screaming like mad, another one's going, I'm just, good play, way to go. I really appreciate it. That was an awesome play. Or the other one, like another, your daughter played so well today, because that's how they are at home, right? So what you're seeing is in all those bleachers, you're seeing all of the home situations, right? Amplified out at level 10, and some of them look really awesome, and some of them it's like, oh my gosh, if we were neighbors, I don't know if I could take this. Right? So, anyway, and I think it all stems from the things that we experience in our life, and just go unresolved relational issues.
So is there anything that, if you could say anything to either athletes that are listening, or parents that are listening, or coaches, or maybe all three, what would you like them to hear today?
Wow. Those are
didn't tell you I was going to ask that.
I know this is like this is like the ultimate question that all your guests get, right? If you have one last thing to say.
Actually, no. The ultimate question. Let me ask you this first. I'll give you some time to think about that. Okay.
Yes.
So since the podcast is called Eating Curveballs for Breakfast, and I always forget to do this, even though this is like, oh, I'm going to ask this question to all the guests. It'll be so fun. About like, what's a big curveball that life's thrown you, either recently or just in general? And what have you learned from that experience?
Wow.
Another big one.
I think the here's it in the game day coffee sphere of things. There's a bigger one, but I don't really want to talk about it right now.
That's fine.
In the game day coffee sphere, it is with all the things that I've done in my lifetime. I've worked with some high profile sports athletes, and I've worked with high profile entertainers. I used to work with Bob and Tom, who are like a national comedy radio show with, I don't know, 10 million people who listen to them every week. The Colts was a high profile NFL team. There's only one in the state of Indiana, right? It's not like 20 NFL teams in Indiana. And so I start this thing with all this experience with all advertising and marketing. And I start this game day coffee thing thinking, man, I am going to knock it out of the park with my wife. We are going to be in the trailer and traveling around Indianapolis and raising so much money. And what I found out is the people who actually do work, they are so important, because just to like, you have to get the gas, and you have to get the coffee, and you have to get the milk, and the milk can't go bad. And do you have a permit for this particular place? And did you pay the insurance? And do you know you need business insurance, and you need liability insurance on top of that? And by the way, the kids need to get to school. And like all these different things around this little tiny business thing going, man, you just get in a truck and then you like make coffee and it's going to be easy. And we put up a sign and people will love us and thousands of people will flock, just like Starbucks. I sat in a parking lot, okay, for 6 weeks and had like 12 customers. We are more effective as a company when we go get a sponsor who prepays the coffee and we give coffee away. Now that to me was the curveball. That was the humbling thing of going, well, you just drive around and you find a spot and people flock to it. Like, no, man, you have to develop customers. This is not easy. I thought it was going to be easy. That's the curveball. Everything in my life has been easy. Right. Like, I just do it and it's fun and people are happy.
And I'm sure like when you say like things in your life have been easy, it doesn't mean that you didn't work hard. I'm sure you worked hard for these things, right? But it was like, just, yeah, that's so interesting and so funny. And I'm sure I could probably tell you some stories like that too, where it's like, I thought it was just so easy. But anyway, very interesting.
Yes.
And funny. So, so going back to the other question, and you don't have to speak to all, everyone, but like if you would rather just say something to the athletes or say something to the parents, whatever you've got on your mind, like, what would you like to share?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make it really simple. Okay. If I had one last thing, like the most important thing, it would be this. It would be God is sovereign over all. I know we're talking sports,
right?
But God is sovereign over politics, He rules over sports. He rules over economies. He rules over Donald Trump or Obama or Putin or all of that. I would say that just remember, there's something more important than all of this that we experience on earth. And my personal belief is he's just watching going, do you want all the credit for yourself as a coach or as a player or as a parent? Or are you going to look to me and go, thank God my child breathes. Thank God I, as a coach, have anything to offer all of these kids that I have coached over a lifetime. Thank God as a parent, I can, walk away and go, my kid's on their own and they're good. And the last one would be, at some point for a kid, for an athlete, to realize that the talent that they have didn't show up just because of some biological event. It showed up at the beginning of time when God said, you know what? I'm going to make this person called Stacy, and she's going to do this.
Yeah.
And all that you know and all that you experience as a result of something that happened way long time ago. And you are a part of a master plan. So I know it's a sports show, but it's at some level there's just one more. When you kick it up one more notch, I think it takes a lot of the stress off all of us, because we don't have to perform.
Right.
We don't have to earn something. We've been given an opportunity to play whatever sport, or to coach whatever sport, or to parent whatever kids are involved in all these things. And going, man, just enjoy. Can you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Can you just enjoy the gift of that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because it's definitely something that's been on my mind in the past few years, and just thinking about things in a different way. Like, I grew up in private school and Sunday school and all that, but like in the past few years, like I've just had some mental shifts that have been like, oh, maybe I don't have to do this. Like, I'm not the one that has everything that I have to figure it all out and have it perfect. You know, it's like, I'll just do the love one another thing, and then let,
there you go.
Everyone else, everybody's got their own thing going on. It's not my responsibility to like make you perfect, or make, like, even with my own kids. So that definitely took a lot of, for me anyway, took a lot of pressure off of my shoulders. Like your job is to be their mom and to love who they are. And, like, you get to do that like the whole time. So it's like,
yeah,
it's very easy when they're tiny, and they're not doing much of anything yet. And it's like, oh, this is so fun. They're so cute. And then they get older, and then you start stressing out. And it's like, actually don't have to do the stress out thing all the time. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm glad you were able to come on today and we got to connect.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll stay connected, and we'll probably do more stuff down the road. But if other people want to connect with Gameday Coffee, learn more about it, see where you're going to be, maybe they're in your area, where should they go to find out what's going on?
Two things: gamedaycoffee.org, or 317-316-9700. That number again, 317-316-9700. Oh, just kidding. Yeah.
Awesome. And you went to broadcast school, actually, from what I saw.
Long time ago, yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Butler University, back in the 1800s. No.
Back in the 1800s. So you've got a lot of experience, is what you're trying to say. All right.
There you go. Yes. And don't think for a second that when we get off the phone that I'm not going to go call my wife and go, hey, Gameday Coffee, like a road trip kind of thing, like a tour to Hawaii. There's this gal named Stacy, and she's just like knows a lot of people. And it's like, we're just going. She's going to do all the programming. We just like Gameday Coffee, and we do coffee in the morning.
Well, you definitely keep in touch, because there have been lots of people that we brought to Hawaii for obviously softball clinics and whatnot. It's been so easy. It's like, oh, I want to bring this kid because I think my kids, like, it would be great if my child got to work out with this person.
Oh, really?
Us flying there, I pick up the phone or email them like, hey, look, I saw your stuff. I love what you do. I think da-da-da-da-da. Would you like to come to Hawaii to do a clinic? And everybody's always like, of course. Like, it's better than going to some other place. And, so
it's been Hawaii Invitational.
Yeah.
you have to be invited.
Yeah, I've been blessed that, I have that to utilize, because we've been able to bring people down, and they're like, look, if you can just get me a place to stay, cover my expenses, I would love to be in Hawaii for a week. They do their clinic for 2, 3, 4 days, and then they get to spend the other. They're like, I think I'll bring my wife on this trip, or I think I'll bring my family for this clinic, so. Right. It's always been, it's been fun. So,
well, consider this. Look at this. Would I rather be in Indiana, which is known for its perfect flatness, It's cornfields, and then more perfect flatness, or a beautiful beach in Hawaii. Just like it's like it's surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, cool breeze, cup of
Blue
coffee.
sky.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it can't even compete.
Well, now that your wheels are turning, if they keep
All right.
turning, we'll stay connected and
Right.
maybe we'll do something fun. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much.
Ciao.
Thanks so much, Rene.
All right.
Bye-bye.